Hey, you guys, welcome, and also welcome back to my old subscribers. If you're new here, the name is Perp the Mayor. Don't forget to look around. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe down below, you guys. We're trying to reach that 10,000 subscribers. So, we got a video today for you, which is very special, which is from Matt Pack from the Film Theorist channel. I'm sure you already know about him. If you don't know about him already, I'm gonna leave his link in my description down below. Make sure you show him some love. All right, so he got the video that's called Ant-Man's Giant Problem. We all know that Ant-Man, and him going, shrinking and going big, doesn't really match with his description, how they say that, it's gonna be. So, I did not make any sense. Okay, so anyway, so let's check out what Matt Peck had to say about Ant-Man's Giant's problem. So let's see what he got. Let's do this. Matt Peck, see his face.
Big ego? I'll show you a big ego.
I love this guy, man. He's nice. He does a great job. Great. Ooh. He just proved my point.
I kind of walked right into that one, didn't I? And a taco truck. Damn, what a waste of tacos.
I love tacos. Oh, and it's Tuesday.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that puts out new episodes only slightly more often than Marvel puts out new superhero movies.
Come
I
on,
mean,
man.
seriously,
Enough
it feels like Infinity War just happened, but it's already time to put that one behind us to focus on a story with some smaller stakes. You might have noticed that Scott Lang, aka the Ant-Man, was absent from the latest Avengers
too
movie.
small.
And that's not a case of him being tucked away in some microscopic hiding place, believe me. I checked every promotional poster out there. And I found some weird things by doing that too, like this. And this. Ooh, there's a hidden Mickey. That Illuminati symbol wasn't all that surprising considering it's Disney. But yeah, no Ant-Man as far as the eye could see. All we hear in the movie is that he and Hawkeye, quote, took a deal since being a hero was too hard on their families.
Yeah, that's what
Aw, being a
happened.
superhero is hard, is it? Boo-hoo. Now half the universe is dead. Not like that's gonna be a lot easier on the fam. Anyway, in case you've forgotten, Ant-Man has the ability to shrink down to ant size using what's known as Pym particles. The marvelous, get it? Miracle matter that can mess with the size, mass, and density of any substance. We most often see him using the power of the Pym particle to shrink himself down to the size of an ant. However, one of the most memorable Ant-Man scenes from the MCU has to be him doing the reverse. In Captain American, the Korean ripoff version of Captain America. In Captain America Civil War, he blows himself up to massive size, becoming the most powerful hero on the battlefield, throwing trucks around, taking missiles to the chest, basically turning unstoppable until Spider-Man decides to take a page from Luke Skywalker's playbook and ties up his legs to trip it like an
Classic.
at that forgot
Classic.
how to walk.
You know that part? Where they're on the snow planet?
What the
walking
I'm calling BS here, by the way. It is the most unbelievable part of the movie. Perhaps the most unbelievable part of the MCU. Peter Parker clearly would know what all of those things are named. Anyway, it makes you wonder, why doesn't Ant-Man use this power more often?
Do it all the time.
Really? Because this is the first time we've ever seen you do it in the movie.
What? In a lab.
Alright, so at first this might seem like a lazy cop-out by the writers, but when you look at the real-life science, it actually makes sense. Being big doesn't just take a fictional subatomic Pym particle. A power like this is gonna have some weird side effects to Scott's body. As it turns out, there's an extreme cost for being big, and that's the lesson for today. How being bigger isn't always being better. And considering it's a power he's gonna be
Bones
using
break.
again in his second movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, learning the oddities that come with being big is gonna be essential so that he doesn't end every fight hangry.
Good to
Does
know.
anyone
Good
have
to
any
know.
orange slices?
Have you ever stopped to wonder why an elephant is less agile than a mouse? I mean, sure, we all intuitively know that big things tend to move slower,
Yep.
but why? You might say that it's because they weigh more, and yeah, that's
Maybe.
certainly true, but consider this. If you took a mouse and blew it up, wouldn't it retain the same abilities that allow it to scamper around? Or by the same token, if you take Scott Lang, an athletic superhero, and do the equivalent of dropping him into Photoshop to stretch the corner of his transform box, wouldn't he just have the same abilities but bigger and stronger than before? He's still the same proportions after all. I mean, sure, he may be gaining more mass, but at the same time, his muscles are also growing and gaining strength, including all of those fast twitch muscle fibers that humans use when they sprint. So why is it so much harder for Mega Scott to perform basic actions when he's big in these fight scenes? Well, believe it or not, but the answer is actually a universal law of mathematics that applies to all matter in the universe. Man, between this and the last Ant-Man theory about how he would be able to create black holes, Ant-Man seems to be the key to unlocking the secrets of existence. Maybe that's why he's not in Infinity War. He's too OP. This secret universal law is known as the square cube law, dating all the way back to Galileo in 1638. Yeah, the same Galileo who discovered Saturn's rings, the moons of Jupiter, and taught the world that planets orbit around the sun. Meanwhile, here I am rewatching Civil War's airport scene covered in Cheeto dust. Galileo, making the rest of the world feel like a slacker since 1640. Anyway, teaching people that they weren't the center of the universe didn't make him very popular with the Roman Inquisition, or Twitter, quite frankly, resulting in him getting put under house arrest. And since he didn't have access to Candy Crush or Cutthroat Kitchen reruns, it gave him a whole lot of time to do math. Math that led to yet another discovery that makes us all feel like underachievers. The square cube law, aka exactly what we need to analyze Ant-Man. The easiest way to explain the law is this. Imagine a tesseract that's 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. It has a surface area of 6 square inches, because each face has an area of 1 square inch and there are 6 faces. The volume is 1 times 1 times 1, or 1 cubic inch. Great, if only AP Calc exams were this easy. Now suppose that we double each dimension of the tesseract, making it 2 by 2 by 2. Surface area is now 24 square inches and volume is now 8 cubic inches. Our surface area increased by a factor of 4, but the volume increased by a factor of 8. Now look at this. We doubled the size of the tesseract, right? Meaning that we multiplied everything by 2, but the surface area increased by 2 squared, or 4, and the volume increased by 2 cubed, or 8. If we had tripled the size of everything from our 1 by 1 by 1 tesseract, surface area would now be 54 and volume 27. Surface area would have increased by a factor of 9, or 3 squared, and volume by a factor of 27, or 3 cubed. In other words, by increasing the dimension by a given factor, the surface area will increase by the square of that factor, and the volume will increase by the cube of that factor. That is the square cube law in a nutshell. Congratulations, you made it through all the math for today's episode. Here's a chocolate and an achievement and 1,000 points added to your theorist score. Make sure you keep that one in a safe place. Now then, what's the significance of all those darn tesseracts to Ant-Man and his gigantism? Well, as Ant-Man grows, other properties are going to change as well. Specifically, his mass is going to increase in the same way that his volume does. It'll be the cube of whatever factor he increases by. So if he scales up by 5, his mass is multiplied by 5 cubed, or 125 times. And that's cool and all, but there's a big problem here. Strength only scales with area. When you want to figure out how strong a bone is, you don't look at how long it is or how much volume it has. You only care about how thick it is. You care about its cross-sectional area. The same applies to muscle strength. So at 5 times the size and 125 times the weight, Ant-Man's strength is only going to multiply by 25. The TLDR of all this, when you make something bigger, you're not actually making it stronger by the same amount. The more you scale something up, it becomes relatively less and less strong. For an example of this in nature, just look at deer. White-tailed deer are 150 pounds, while elk are 600 pounds. Just by looking at them, you can tell that the elk's legs are much thicker than the lighter white-tailed deer legs. This is because an elk's bones and muscles need to be much thicker to support the extra weight. But even in spite of all that extra girth, elk are still more likely to break their bones. The long story short here is supporting additional mass is hard. It is biologically very difficult. It requires a lot of extra internal infrastructure in your body. Infrastructure that humans, and Ant-Man specifically, just aren't built for. So let's take one more look at Ant-Man. If we figure out the factor of increase for Ant-Man's size, we can quickly assess how that would affect his mass and strength. Now, in the trailers for the new movie, we hear him bragging about how big he's able to get.
How big did you get?
21 feet. You?
62?
65 feet. 65.
The actor who plays Ant-Man, Paul Rudd, is reportedly 5 foot 10 inches, meaning that Ant-Man has to be able to scale up to a maximum of 11 times his normal body size. Now, remember the square cube law. His mass and volume will increase by a cube of that factor of increase, so his resulting mass is going to increase by a factor of 11 times 11 times 11, or 1,331. Websites say that Rudd weighs in at about 171 pounds or 78 kilos, so in giant form, he's actually going to be weighing in at a modest 227,601 pounds, or 103,818 kilograms. That's the same as 15 elephants, or about 1 space shuttle. However, the cross-sectional area of his muscles and bones will only increase by the square of 11, or 121. Getting over 100 times stronger might seem like a lot, but it means almost nothing when you consider that he's over 1,000 times heavier than he was, which explains why Ant-Man, who's normally an agile superhero capable of all kinds of acrobatic feats, is reduced to a slow-moving behemoth in Civil War. Honestly, considering how much additional weight his legs are carrying, it's a wonder that he's even able to be standing at all, which begs the question, or for all of you on Reddit who are bothered by that idiomatic usage of the phrase, raises the question, could he actually stand? Well, it took a bit of digging, but I found out. Bones are much better at handling compressive forces than shear forces. This is because bones are made up of columns of collagen and calcium phosphate, like bundles of twigs. And because they run vertically through the bone, they give the bone strength through its length. To show you just how big of a difference all this makes, it takes about 4,000 newtons of force to fracture your femur when you hit it this way, a shear direction, but 50,000 newtons of force when you apply the force this way, a compressive force. Over 10 times more force required. That's according to the E-Study Guide for Physics, by the way. It was a hard number to find. Anyway, at normal human size, it would mean that Scott Lang would need to weigh over 11,240 pounds to break his legs. No big worries there, or for the rest of humanity, no matter how many cheeseburgers we eat. But then, like Mario Jumpman on his shrooms, we gigantify it. His leg strength scales by 121, meaning that he can now support around 1,360,040 pounds on his legs. And considering he weighs in at just under 230 pounds when he's in large scale, he is well in the clear. Someone get that man an orange slice. He deserves it. But what's coolest about all of this is that, well, yes, it explains why he has to be slow and careful in his mega form, it also explains how he's so incredibly powerful in his micro form. Because you see, all of this also works in reverse. If increasing your size increases the ratio of mass to strength, then decreasing your muscle mass should have the opposite effect. More strength relative to your size. According to the Marvel website, Ant-Man can shrink himself down to half an inch. That's him scaling himself down 142 times, which means that his bone and muscle cross-section will be shrunk down by 142 squared, but his volume and mass will be shrunk down by 142 cubed. That means that when Ant-Man is half an inch tall, his strength ratio increases by a factor of 142. That's the equivalent of a 6-foot man feeling like they only weigh 1.4 pounds. Imagine what kind of athletic feats your body would be capable of if you gained that factor of strength. You could lift things that were way bigger than you. In fact, that's exactly what we observe in the animal kingdom. Ants are capable of lifting objects that are hundreds of times their own weight, while elephants are only capable of lifting objects that are around 1/10 of their weight. True, in absolute terms, the elephant might be capable of lifting bigger objects, but proportionally, the ant seems so much stronger. And that's a big part of where Ant-Man's powers come from. For example, he has the ability to change size at will while maintaining his momentum, meaning he starts an incredible sprint while small, then blows himself up to deliver a devastating punch. We always hear the phrase that bigger is better, but as we saw in Civil War, being big has its costs. While Ant-Man's gigantic form might be one of the most visually impressive things we see him do in the movies, his real strength lies not in his ability to grow, but his ability to shrink. Scott Lang proves that it's not the size of your superhero, but rather the size of their power ratio.
If you two are finished comparing sizes,
65.
Well, the science proves it at least. Scott still seems really proud of that 65-footer.
I know.
But hey,
Ego.
that's just a theory. A film theory. And if you missed my last Ant-Man theory on why he's technically the most devastating character in the Marvel MCU, it's right here. Click the button to your left. Or make sure you give that subscribe button a big ol' smack so you can be updated about what crazy theories we have coming
Show
up
him some
next.
love, you guys.
Like, have you ever wondered what the optimum strategy is for winning the Purge? Oh yeah, there's a right answer for solving the Purge. One that you're gonna find out next week. But only if you hit the subscribe button. Hurry! You only have 5 seconds left in this video to do it. 5, 4, 3. Don't get left in the Purge.
One. You know what I like about Matt Pack's channel, The Film Theories, is that he takes his time to do research, like science, hard science, math. He does his homework, man. Yo, so all right, so that was Ant-Man's giant problem, so that was good. So yeah, so it makes sense. So bigger, I mean, you move slower, so it's better for you to be smaller so you can pack a bigger punch and stuff like that. So yeah, guys, so that was the Film Theorist new video, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video, because Ant-Man and the Wasp is coming on Friday, so I hope you've seen this movie also. Just let me know if you enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave a comment down below, and if you're going to see Ant-Man and the Wasp decide this Friday, let me know also down below. I hope you enjoy my reaction. If you did, please leave a like. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to tell your friends. Always come back for more, and make sure you subscribe. And I will see you when I see you, guys. Peace.